I knew that was going to happen. Well, snowing again. The goats I've kind of sequestered into this smaller paddock right here inside of the entire winter pasture, which the fence is finished on. I'll maybe do a final video on the fence. Here comes Pora, she's excited. She's getting to be out in the whole pasture. So when we've been feeding these round bales, which I think you can probably see some remnants of them on the ground in a couple of spots, they pretty well destroy them pretty quickly. And of course they waste a ton of it on the ground. So I've been trying to give it to them in their feeders, and it's been so cold I've had a little bit of trouble getting the tractor to start up. But today it warmed up to about 34, 35 degrees, and it was pretty warm yesterday too, 34, 35 degrees. So I was able to get the tractor running, went up the hill and got a bale of hay that's only a partial bale. It's sitting right here. And I'm gonna try and do something that I watched Lonnie at Rolling O Farm. He's in Alabama. He has sheep and goats, but he uses a cattle panel to put around them. And then once he wraps the cattle panel around them, he takes a carabiner and or a couple of carabiners and attaches the carabiner. So I got 3 of these, and I have woven wire fence. I don't have any cattle panel, but I've got some woven wire fence. I'm gonna try wrapping that around, get it good and tight, and then put some carabiners on it. And then as they eat the bale, I'm gonna try and cinch it down a little bit, bit by bit as they go. And hopefully they won't, they'll jump on top of it and just tear it down. And then later you'll see them kind of trying to dig around on the ground to get some of the good stuff out. But there's just like a 4-inch layer in a couple of those spots where they just stepped all over it, peed on it, pooped on it. And then of course they're not gonna eat it. And I can't come out here every 2 hours and take a pitchfork and pile it all back up. So hopefully this will work. If it does, not my idea. Thanks, Lonnie.
Hay in upstate New York is not a particularly expensive thing in comparison to many other parts of the country. At the same time, it is part of what we have to pay in order to raise these goats, which we intend to sell for a profit. If we can save money by not wasting the hay, by the goats trampling on it and wasting it on the ground, then that's more profit that we get per goat. So this only takes me a couple of minutes to do, and it's very inexpensive to create these panels and buy a few carabiners. So even if we got up to scale and ran 100, even 200 goats, I don't know that I would stop doing this if it does in fact save a lot of hay. First things first, we have to see if the goats are actually going to be okay with eating out of this. And 2, I'm going to have to see if it does indeed last longer and there's less hay wasted on the ground.
Pora, being good. Just making sure I'm doing it right. Okay, so this is what it looks like. I think I have an old pallet somewhere, so the next few rolls that I put out, I'll probably put a pallet underneath it, just so that it's not sitting on the ground. Everywhere I cut the wire on this, I was really careful to bend it back on itself so that there's no sharp points. The only other thing is they've never actually been outside of the netting and just in the high tensile fence, which the fence is on right now. It's got 6,000 volts on it. So I'm gonna let them out and come eat this hay, but they'll also have the ability to go to all of the pasture out here. So I don't know if they're gonna put it to the test or not, but for now, let's lay this fence down and see if they like it or not. you go, Daisy. You can have some. Interested? Maybe also interested in the tractor? So the purpose of the cattle panel, or the woven fence section that I've cut here, is so that when they grab a bite to eat it, they just pull a small section out and it doesn't just tear the bale and then it starts to fall off layer by layer. And that's the point at which it starts to become, just a waste on the ground that they trample and use the bathroom on. So here, which they're interested in now that they realize that there's really nothing special out anywhere else, you can see they're pulling some of it out. It won't completely get rid of the waste, but I should be getting 2 to 3 weeks out of a full bale, and I was really only getting about 1 just because they were pulling most of it down. And so it's working well to start. They seem to be okay with it. Keep the alfalfa in here, and they only get so much per day, so they're very interested. They could only get that lock undone.